Hello and welcome to session 8 of the Counterpoint. I have my good friend Christy Little Jones with me today. Hi, Christy.
Hi, thanks for
Thank
having
you so much. Thank you. Thank you for coming. You're so welcome. I'm going to read Christy's bio and then we're going to jump in. Okay.
me. Okay.
So, Christy Little Jones, MS, is a relationship coach, an inspirational speaker, a host of the Wife Wisdom podcast, of which I've been a guest. Known as the chief cheerleader for women, yay, all around the world, Christy is passionate about helping women create lives and marriages that love them back. With over 2 decades of experience coaching women and couples, Christy specializes in transforming self-doubt into self-love and relationships into safe, soul nurturing spaces. Whether she's speaking on stage, leading a workshop, or coaching one on one, Christy brings contagious energy, deep wisdom, and a heart for helping others live fully, love deeply, and lead joyfully. So you can learn more about Christy at ChristyLittleJones.com, and you can also follow her on Instagram. So she has her podcast on Instagram, and that is at Wife Wisdom on Instagram, but she's also at Christy Little Jones. So I have to add the Wife Wisdom. She's at Wife Wisdom on
Yep. It's
Instagram.
wife.wisdom. Yep.
Wife.wisdom. Christy also is featured in this book, Sacred Spaces, right here.
Yay.
And I have an autographed copy. So I would encourage you all to go pick up this book. You can get it on Amazon. Christy, are there other spaces? Because I got mine off Amazon.
Yes. So they can actually there's a link in my bio on Instagram as well. So for them to that will take them to getting the book.
Okay, great. So, guys, welcome, Christy.
Thank you,
Yay.
Chris. Thank you.
So, guys, now that I've read Christy's bio, we're just going to jump right in. So, Christy, what was the declaration that God made to you, and how did it make you feel when you heard it?
Yes. So I have wanted to be a wife and mom since I was a little girl, probably about 12. So I would just pretend I would have snacks, pretend that I was in the front seat, like while my husband was driving, and I would be giving snacks to my kids in the back
Oh,
seat.
wow.
Yeah. Oh, wow. It made my parents very nervous. I talked about getting married and having kids. Can you imagine 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17? I always talked. So my declaration was that I was going to be married happily with kids. And that was my declaration. And I started, like those little assignment, like homework books that we used to get, that we used to write our assignments in. And in the back had like a few note pages in the very back. Well, I started writing lists of my children's names on
Oh,
the
wow.
back of those homework books that we used to get, and I would transfer them every single year, and I did that for 20 years until I had my first child.
Wow. So, did you name them the names that you wrote in those
I
on
did.
those? Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Now you hear people playing teacher, wanting to be a teacher. I think most women, dream of being a wife, but I don't know that I ever had the confidence in the declaration that you had to do what you did. Um, I know people who've been called to be teachers, and they set their dolls up, and
Yes, they were my
so
children.
you always knew that you would be a wife.
I did. I did.
So then, what was the situation that was in violation to you becoming a wife?
Yes. So, not only did my husband and I, we really kind of helped launch the marriage prep ministry at our church, and we took numerous couples through premarital counseling, and it was very easy to discover which ones weren't necessarily going to make it. We really, there were only two that we said, we don't think you should get married, and they did, and they're the only two that have gotten divorced.
Wow.
So, yes. So, um, I just knew that I wanted to be a part of marriage, of family, and so much so that I really even after we even kind of in tandem a little bit, I just wanted to continue to encourage couples, encourage wives on my own, in my own business, and I would attract women, especially women who did a lot of people pleasing. And, really started to not only encourage them, but help coach them in becoming their best selves. And one day I got an email. I was checking my emails like I normally do, and a woman I read an email that said, "Hi, Christy. I don't know if you know who I am, but I'm no longer dating your husband."
Wow.
And I literally sat back. It felt like I didn't breathe for 5 minutes.
Wow.
And when I heard that, like, when I read that, I read it again because I wanted to see, like, is this real? And it was real. And so I took a pause. I reached out to my husband and I asked him, I said, "Do you know so and so?" I can't even remember her name. That's how good God is, right? I don't even remember her name. But I was like, "Do you know this person?" He was like, "No, no, no, no. I don't." But what's interesting is a week before I got this email, there was a lady who read my blogs. She was on my newsletter, and so she said, "I have labored countless, countless hours wondering if I should reach out to you and tell you this, but I was on a plane and your husband got on the plane with a woman that was not you.
Wow.
And I was assigned the seat to sit next to him.
Wow.
And the woman he was with asked if I would mind moving to the seat behind me so that they could sit together. And so when they were sitting together, she said she could see inside between the seats, like little kisses here and there. And she said, "I knew your heart and passion for marriage, for family. And I wanted to, it took me a long time, but I wanted to let you know." And so when she had told me that, because she knew me from my blog and she knew what he looked like, I had approached him a week prior to the actual mistress reaching out to me. So it was totally God, just the way that he orchestrated it. And that was that was 2012.
Wow. So, how did you survive that season? How
It was totally God because like, I think about it now, and most women probably would have raged out there, "Row," like crying or whatever, and I really was very calm. Like, when he told me, I was shocked, I think, but then literally, mm, the next day, there was just so much grace, and I was like, "I forgive you." And when I said, "I forgive you," he broke down. He broke down on the floor, like, bawling, and this was after he had, of course, denied it. He denied that, "No, I don't know anybody that way. I don't know who that is." But then, less than a minute later, 2 minutes later, he called me and he was like, "Yes, I do know who that is, and I had an affair." And so we talked about it literally nonstop for probably 24 hours, didn't sleep, talked about it, and through a lot of tears on both sides. And then there was and then after we had that conversation, I had told him, "Well, I forgive you," because our children were young at that time. And they were, hmm, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, maybe 7, 8, 9, but they were young. And what I prayed is that God would protect them from that and from knowing that, because I didn't want to be a single mom. I didn't want to run to the divorce courts. God gave me the grace to just forgive him in that moment. And we really worked towards healing, and I would ask him the same question 5,000 times, and he would answer the question 5,000 times. And he wasn't like, you know, you keep asking me that question. Like, have you forgiven me already? Like, what? Like, there was no arrogance. It was 1000% humility. And I think
Wow.
honestly, that's what helped me to survive it. And God had sent somebody to live with us during that time to really help with the kids. And she wasn't a nanny or anything. We were just being a blessing to her. She was living with us. And so when those days when the mental movies were too much and I literally just would lay on the floor and look out of the window, she would make sure that my kids were eating.
Wow. That's a blessing. So
Mhm.
God sent help that
Yes.
way. Was there any counseling or anything involved?
Yes, we did go to counseling, but what I found was very interesting. When we went to counseling with people that we trusted, you know what they kept saying to us? They said, "Christy, most people don't recover from this."
Hmm.
And they said it over and over and over again to the point where I was like, well, these are the wrong people. We do
Yeah.
not want to go to counseling with these people because I felt like they kept speaking death into our situation. And most people don't recover from this. I just want to let you know, no, most people don't recover from this. And it was like nails on a chalkboard to me. So I
Right.
was like, I had to run away. So I literally ran away. We actually started going to like a different church. And then we started we kind of, God cocooned us in a season where we just were focusing. It was just me, him, and God. And it was a really tender time, and it was now that I look back on it, it was not only his hand was all over it, but it was a beautiful time for us because after we got through this, it was about 12 weeks of just this cocooning phase. It's like we came out even better than where we were before.
That's awesome. And that's so many people hear that scripture, life and death is in the power of the tongue, but they forget that we eat the words of it. And I
Mhm.
remember teaching on that one time, and it was like, not only what are you speaking, but who are you allowing to speak into you? Who and who
Huge.
who do you need to silence? there,
Absolutely.
there, there's some people that are speaking life and you need to listen. And then there's some people that are speaking death and you need to run and silence them and put the mute button on them and like, not today, Satan. Like, not today,
Absolutely.
not here.
Absolutely.
So that was very encouraging that you had the forethought to say,
Yeah.
you know what, this isn't working, and we need to be with people who are Team Jones.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was shocked. I think I was so shocked by it that it was an easy decision to know, "Oh, okay, we don't wanna be around this." It's kind of like my kids, if they were around any adults that even said the word stupid, they would not ever be around those adults again. Like, you're not gonna slip up and say, "Oh, well, that was stupid," that then my kids now think that they're stupid, and now we're having to deal with therapy at 30 because I would counsel and coach women who somebody told them they couldn't do it when they were, a freshman in high school, and they still believed it at 40.
Wow.
That was not gonna be their story.
Wow. That's one of my words. I just felt convicted.
Yeah.
Like, I don't curse, but like if I'm driving and somebody cuts me, and I never realized it until my sister told me, I'm driving and somebody cuts me off, and the first thing that comes out of my mouth is stupid. So I don't use it like towards kids or
Right.
people. Well, that
Mhm.
is a person who cut me
Right.
off, but
Right.
that's my curse word.
Right, I get it.
So
It's
now I
different
have
if
to
it's like
stop.
to
I have to
yourself
find
versus
another
to
word.
them. Yes, yes.
Like, blessed and highly favored. You blessed and highly favored person.
Right.
Um, Okay, so do you feel like now on the other side of forgiveness,
Mhm.
and the counseling and just the work that God has done in you and in him, do you feel like you've made it to the destination?
I do, but it was not without a lot of heart work and soul work and trust and forgiveness over and over and over again, and really learning how to love unconditionally without the lenses of having those expectations, right? That's I think that was the most recent journey of detaching myself from the expectations that I had of him, of Adrian, of how he was supposed to show up, what he was supposed to say, how he was supposed to lead, how he's supposed to do X, Y, and Z, because I had all of these expectations and came into the marriage even with another level of and layer of Christian expectations. Like, as a Christian husband, this is what you should be doing. And when you don't do this, what's happening? Right. So it was when I learned to detach from them, my marriage changed drastically.
I think that's great. I think I remember going through marriage prep, and I remember, I grew up with a mom and a grandfather, so I was raised by a senior man who was retired, and he watched the soaps. And
Uh-huh.
so, on the soaps, you get in an argument. It's like, no, turn back to me. I'm not going to let you leave me. So, I mean,
Exactly.
display expectations. I'm like, that's my expectation when we
Yeah.
get in an argument. If I try to walk away, you're supposed to say, no,
Yes,
come back.
absolutely.
We're
Come
going to
back,
talk
don't
this
go.
out.
Yes,
And it was like, when that didn't happen, I was like, okay, Nikia, that's only on one life to live and all my
right,
children.
right.
We
Yeah.
need to let go of that and become the people that God wants us to be.
Mhm.
So that's encouraging, letting go of expectations,
Yeah,
unrealistic expectations, because I think there are some that are healthy. And I think the ones that we have in our head, like the ones that we have in our head that our spouse knows nothing about, which is so unfair to
yeah,
them.
yeah. It is. It really is.
So, what lessons? So, you say so. First, you've made it to the destination. You have this happy, healthy marriage.
Mhm.
How are you enjoying it?
So much better. You know why? Because I don't have to pretend. I don't have to pretend to be something or want something that I don't want. I've really gotten to a place where I speak my truth, and whereas I realized how many years I didn't. So we'll be married 23 years this year, and easily 21 I didn't. So, and I think a lot of it has to do with my age, right? So when you
Okay.
get older, your tolerance for things goes way down. So the tolerance that I had when I was 32, very different now, 55. So I now I'm like, no, that's not going to work. Like, so I think I know my own worth. I know my own value way differently now. And then, you're like, oh, I want to be the peacemaker and the peacekeeper. And so now I'm not afraid of arguments or afraid of intense times of fellowship, right? The way that I used to be. And
Hmm.
that has helped tremendously. But that's part of the growth process that I've had in my marriage.
Okay.
And yeah, so I really we are working on it. It is like night and day from where it was even 8 months ago, and that is because I've changed me. He may have be the same, but I've been doing the work on me, on my heart, my expectations, letting go, disconnecting, and it has made me feel so much freer and to be authentically who God created me to be.
That's awesome. I think that because so many times we want to point the finger,
Mhm.
but that old saying, when you point, then there are four fingers
Yeah,
pointing back at you. So that you did your work, and that made all the difference.
all the difference.
What lessons did you learn? What were some of the greatest lessons that God
Ooh,
spoke to you in that season of the violation?
yeah. Um, One of the biggest ones was his choices have nothing to do with me. So, some women, when they're find themselves in infidelity situations, they're like, "Oh my gosh, what did I do?" I never felt that.
Okay.
I 'Cause I never felt, like I was like, "Oh, this is a concern with him. This is a heart issue for him. It wasn't me. It wasn't like, oh, I didn't do this enough, or I didn't love him enough, or I didn't do, like, I never felt that, which was a blessing for me, which I think helped me to be able to forgive sooner. Um, because the enemy didn't attack me in that area. But so I really feel like the there are a lot of people who are broken, right? And we all have trauma in some way, shape, or form that comes out in a certain way. And I think that a lot of people don't know what that is. And so I've learned that offering grace first has helped versus judgment or criticism. And knowing that, especially the people that are closest to you, to really offer them grace, because they really may just not know. They may not see their blind spots. They may not know their blind spots. And, you know, it's more helpful in the relationship for me to offer grace and to maybe help them to see things differently, as opposed to thinking that everyone thinks like me, or everyone, responds like the way that I do, and they don't. So that was probably one of the biggest things that I've learned is, everybody, one, doesn't think like you. They may not see things the way you do. So offer grace, ask lots of questions, clarifying questions, and then be honest in conversation. Don't be afraid to have difficult conversations in order to get to a place of clarity.
That's good. I like that. I know that is something that I work on a lot in my marriage and with my kids. It's like I'm so, I guess, linear, and
Mm,
1 plus 1 is 2. And
yeah.
so when I get asked, "What's 1 plus 1?" I'm like, "It's 2. Don't you know it's 2? Why don't you
Mhm,
know it's 2?"
mhm, mhm.
But that grace, I think that is so significant because we all want to receive it, but we don't give it as freely as we want to receive it or need it. So the
Right,
fact that was a lesson that you learned and you can give it, and being the person having watched you and Adrian,
right.
like um, like I would have never even known
Mhm,
that this is part of your testimony.
right.
So just to see the grace that God has on your lives and on your marriage and even on your children who are all
Mhm.
young adulting these days,
Yep,
it's just such a blessing to be a person looking in the window and to
yes.
see what God is
Thank you,
doing. I
sis.
think it's
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank
What encouragement do you have for others who may suffer this type of
you.
violation?
Yes. That's a good one. Forgiveness is truly a gift. And then, we've heard this before, like forgiveness is a gift and it's really for the giver, not the receiver. But but it's true. But one of the ways that I explain it is, if you were to give a gift, beautifully wrapped, like I love, love, love Christmas time, around when, you go to Nordstrom's or Macy's and they have the little stand, and they create you can pick the paper and they wrap it with a pretty bow, and it's just everything is perfect and creased. And it's like forgiveness is giving a beautiful wrapped gift like this, and then the person is holding on to the other side because you're giving it to them, but you never let go,
Uh,
right? So giving the gift of forgiveness means that there's no punishing, there's
mhm,
no reliving the past. It's really letting go and not wanting the other person to hurt as bad as they hurt you.
mm, that's good.
Very challenging, right? Because we're human. But I feel like with just emotional intelligence and really self growth and self development, you can really learn to forgive. Like, if anybody who gets married has to become a professional
Yeah.
forgiver,
Yeah.
period. Like, they don't tell you this is a qualification. To get married, you need to become a professional forgiver, like 50,000 times,
Yeah.
because your spouse is going to offend you, period. And then in any relationship, your kids will offend you, your siblings, your parents, your coworkers, like the world really is very, it's easy to be offended. So you have to learn to continue to open your heart and love and be vulnerable and transparent, again and again and again, because unforgiveness is what tries to protect your heart. But what it does is it really prevents you from experiencing the relationship fully.
So, what is like one practical, if you can think of one practical thing to help somebody forget, because people can, people, it's easier said than done.
For
What
sure.
is like one practical thing that you did to help you with forgiveness?
Yep. So one of the things that I teach is called the cycle of offense, right?
Okay.
So the first stage in the cycle of offense is shock, where you are shocked, like I couldn't believe it. I was shocked that this happened to me. Then it's anger. And then you're like, I can't believe, I can't believe, like, there was a time where I really wish that I could have taken a bat and just gone to town on his
Wow.
face, body, bones, everything. Like, I was really, really angry. And then there's the third stage is sorrow. And sorrow is that, like, where I was laying on the floor and I was looking out of the window at the sky for hours at a time because I was just deeply hurt and wounded by the act. And then there's acceptance, where you're now like, okay, well, this wasn't a nightmare. It wasn't a dream. This is reality. Like, okay, so what's the next step? Take the next step, right? Take one step and put one foot in front of the other and keep moving. So that those four stages of offense are normal and common. And the thing about it is you can bounce back from any stage. You can go from any stage. A song could remind you, and you go right back to anger, or you can go right back to shock, and you bounce like a pinball machine back and forth from shock to anger to sorrow to acceptance. But there's only one thing that will actually catapult you after that out of the cycle, because the cycle will go on for decades, even generations, if you allow it, right? Because, like the Hatfield and McCormick's, people would grow up and they're like, well, we don't like them. And they're like, why? They didn't even know, because the cycle of offense had just transferred generationally.
Mhm.
So the only thing that'll catapult you out of that is forgiveness, where you have to make a decision, decide to forgive, and not allow the negative emotion from your past to continue to come up and where it makes you rehearse the negative emotion, or it makes you rehearse the negative experience that you had. But honestly, almost 90% of people in the world are addicted to the negative emotion of their past.
Mm.
So it's you have to make a conscious decision that I'm going to forgive this person and move forward. And it's like every day, every time those negative emotions come up, you got to say nope. And one of the things that I did, so what happens when you actually get to that fifth stage of forgiveness, it'll catapult you to the sixth stage, which is healing.
Mm.
And that, so those two stages, this forgiveness and healing, oftentimes people forget those because they just stay in the loop of the four stages. And so after it catapults you out, then you can truly start experiencing freedom. And if you can do that for all of the offenses in your life, then you'll experience so much more joy and so much more like freedom, and the less desire to want to protect your heart. And you have to continue to keep opening up your heart again and again if you want to experience like the true connection and love that I really believe God desired us to have.
So, if you could go back and talk to yourself during that season, what would you tell yourself? Like the Christy now that's 55,
Mhm. Mhm.
to go back to that moment when you discovered or learned of that, what would you tell yourself?
Mm. The first thing that came to mind is strap up. Strap up for the ride, girl. Strap up for the ride. I think also, it has been a journey. We've dodged bullets and leaped over obstacles like every marriage, right? But,
Mhm.
um, I think that if I what I would say is that it's in the end, it's gonna be okay. In the
Yeah.
end, it's gonna be okay. And you're not gonna die. You may feel like it, but it's gonna be okay, and things will come back together, and God's in control. So strap up, enjoy the ride, and continue to just love well.
That's good. Love well. This is my last question. So I'm a worshiper. I can't sing, but I love worship music and I love to sing. Were there any songs that kind of carried you through?
You know what really did carry me through that would stop me in my tracks is when I would say, "I take every thought captive
Mm,
and place it under the submission of Jesus Christ." So whenever a mental movie would come up, I would say that. Whenever I would feel like I wanted to get sucked back into the loop of offense, I would say that. And immediately I would feel different. It was like, so that was my worship song. Really.
mm,
It was that the word of
mhm.
I take every thought captive and place it under
Yes.
the submission of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And so that and you know what the other one was? I can't remember the name, but, she was so it was who ooh, 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 you know it too. I know you know it. Um, it was I can't remember, but girl, you don't have me you know when you, like,
It's going you gonna call me tonight, be like,
yeah,
Nakia.
you're in the shower and you're like, "Ooh, what is it? What is it?" I can't remember. So, but I do remember it would trigger even today, it triggers just a humility and a surrender before God. And I'm gonna find it before we go. I just gotta tell you because people will be like, wait, what's this? What is it? What is it?
Yeah. So while
So
you're looking for it, it's
yeah.
so funny because as you were speaking, that scripture just kept popping in my head even before you said it. And
Mhm.
it just reminds me of something Bishop Owens would say all the time, get you a God said and stand on that. Like wherever you are, whatever you're believing God for, get you a God said. And so for you
Yeah.
and believing for restoration for your marriage, your
Mhm.
God said was to take every thought captive
Yeah.
and make it obedient. Um, and so that's powerful.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had several God saids in my violation that I stand on, but
Yes.
yeah.
That's so good. So it was um I Love Your Presence by Bethel Music
Okay.
and I Need You More. Those
Both
are
by Bethel Music?
yes.
Okay. I love your presence and I need you more.
Yeah.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, can we thank Christy Little Jones for
Thank you.
sharing her powerful testimony? My major takeaways are forgiveness, grace,
Mhm.
and God said, get you a God said. I'm gonna
Get
go
you
back to that.
excited.
But that grace and that forgiveness and I even like the power of the tongue, like surrounding yourself with people that agree with what God spoke over your life. God spoke to you that you knew at a young age you would be married, you would have a
Mhm.
thriving marriage. And so even in counseling, when they weren't speaking what God said, having the courage and the strength to walk away, and even to keep believing like, no, this isn't it, this isn't what God said, so
Yeah,
let me find some people that's going to agree with what God said.
totally.
And they weren't right, because you and Adrian are still standing.
Yes, exactly. 13 years after.
Yeah, that's what Bishop Paul Morton, isn't that him singing that song, I'm still standing,
Yes,
I'm still holding on. I love me
yes,
some Bishop Paul S. Morton. So
absolutely.
thank you, Christy.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Counterpoint
Thank you.
family. And
Yes.
if you have a testimony that you'd like to share, please email me at counterpoint2025@gmail.com. This is Nakia Smith and Miss Christy Little Jones, and we're saying love and
Love you.
farewell.
Thank you.